All right, y'all, welcome to the show. Forgive the new scenery that I have behind myself here, but I couldn't be in the studio because we got a little something going on at the house today, so I had to find a little corner and tuck myself away in it and do my show from there. Also, if you hear any background noise, it's because I have a fan pointed at me because it's literally 96 degrees as I'm doing the show outside. So today should be a fun show, and today should be a sweaty show. I got a lot to talk about. So in just a second, we have Piers Morgan and Destiny got into an absolute battle on air. They had a heated debate, and it's over the comments that Destiny made after the attempted assassination of Trump. Of course, the bullet ended up killing one of Trump's fans in the crowd, and he was a firefighter, and apparently he saved his wife and his daughter in the moment. And Destiny made some spicy comments about that, and Piers Morgan brought him on, and they fought it out. So we'll talk about that. We also have Biden really hits a new low by praising himself for saving Palestinian lives. I mean, I couldn't make that up if I tried. Then we'll get to some new polls came out after the attempted assassination of Trump, and it has some shocking results, man. Plus, Bob Menendez found guilty of cartoonish corruption. Trump's sons apparently flipped out on him and started screaming at him. And Biden is reportedly going to declare war on the Supreme Court, and he's going to announce some new ideas in terms of reforming it because he views what they did as overstepping their boundaries when they basically declared that a president is almost completely immune. It's a little more complicated and nuanced than that, but not by much. So we'll talk about that and more. Everybody do me a big favor. Please subscribe to the channel. It helps out massively. It costs you absolutely nothing. I want to say a big thank you to everybody who supports this show on Patreon. That link is below if you'd like to support $5 a month or $2 a month or whatever it is. Because remember, I don't talk to any advertisers, so you guys really make this show work. All right, so without any further ado, let's go ahead and dive into it here. So Destiny went on Piers Morgan's show, and they got into a heated back and forth because of Destiny's spicy comments after a Trump supporter was killed at the rally when, of course, the shooter was trying to assassinate Trump. Let's dive into it, and we'll break it down as we go.
No, but Destiny, let me explain to you.
Where conservatives can say anything.
No, I'm not a conservative.
They can have any conspiracy theory.
I'm not a conservative.
They can have any plot. They can do anything, and then liberals are supposed to sit here and be like, "Oh my God, it's so tragic."
No, Destiny,
absolutely not.
Let me explain.
Absolutely.
Let me explain my position because I'm not a conservative. I'm not on either side in your race, right? Here's what I think about what you did. You'd like to fire off, as you've done so far in this debate, about your fury at how disgusting Republicans are, how inhumane they are, how they never have any empathy, blah, 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 blah. And then you yourself actually are exactly the person that you're describing. You are inhuman. You are somebody who seems almost gleeful that a young firefighter with a family, with a wife and children, who he was protecting as he was shot dead, that he deserved what was coming to him because he went to a President Trump rally, a man who was President of the United States until recently for 4 years and maybe again. You sound almost gleeful, Destin, and I'm sorry, that makes you, frankly, despicable.
I don't think I'm gleeful about anything. I don't think anybody should die. I don't think anybody deserves to die. But you want to talk about gleeful? Look at the conservative response to Pelosi's husband when they broke in.
I can answer that.
Mainstream media figures I don't care.
I can answer that.
With all respect, I don't care what your answer is.
Answer that.
The reality is that conservatives have been turning the temperature up on the rhetoric. They have been making fun of these types of events for years. And now when something happens to them, now they're looking for sympathy from the liberal side? Absolutely not. It's insane. It's unhinged.
Yeah,
that you can conduct yourself in such a manner and expect people to feel sorry when things happen.
Why should anybody on the right listen to a word of your hectoring and lecturing about how they should behave? And by the way, for the record, the mockery of Nancy Pelosi's husband when he was attacked by an intruder with a hammer was also despicable, right? I can see despicable behavior on all sides, and I'm happy to call it out when I see it. You, however, want to present yourself as this great kind of standard bearer of decency who sees outrageous behavior on the right time and again and is incensed by this disgusting, inhumane behavior. And yet time and again, since the attempted assassination of Donald Trump, you have displayed exactly the same kind of inhumane behavior. Fuck him about a fireman who is killed because he attends a rally of a guy he wants to vote for.
My issue with the MAGA kids is not that they are not empathetic. My issue is that they support a president that led an insurrection against the United States. I'm not here to tone police over their empathy.
80 million people voted for Donald Trump last time around.
That's great. 80 million people voted for a guy that tried to insurrect the government, and it looks like they might try to do it again. I mean, like, I don't know what you want me to say. These are the facts on the ground. The idea that
so you don't like attacks on democracy. So presumably you would unreservedly condemn the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. because that's one of the most egregious attacks on American democracy in modern times. Presumably, you will take this opportunity, given you are so determined to protect the integrity of democracy, you would find it absolutely outrageous that someone has tried to assassinate a president, right?
If the other conservatives on this show want to say that it was absolutely outrageous that Donald Trump attempted to coup the government, then maybe I would. Yeah, no, I'm not going to get on my knees and beg for forgiveness or show sympathy to conservatives.
I'm not asking for that. I'm asking you to condemn what happened as an egregious attack on democracy. Can you do that?
No, I won't. No, I won't.
You can't do that. You see, so why the hell, frankly, Destiny, why the hell should we listen to a word you have to say about...
Why do you think conservatives haven't been listening to a word that liberals have said about anything for 8 years?
Right,
What do you think is going to change? You think liberals come out now and they go, oh my God, this was so horrible. They're going to go, wow, that is true.
Charlie, I'll bring you in at the end of this, I promise you, and you'll get a good chance to respond. But here's my problem, Destiny, with your whole position on this, right? Is that you don't actually have anything inside you that you want the other side to have. You don't have any of the empathy. You don't have any sympathy. You don't care that someone tried to assassinate Donald Trump. You don't care that a young fireman with a family was killed in the process. You don't actually. You are not the person you want these other people to be. And all you do is play whataboutery with every question I give you. And I'm just startled.
It's not what about it? We're talking about Donald Trump. We're talking about the temperature of this country. But here's a question for the two panelists. What percentage of this event happening was due to Donald Trump's rhetoric? What do they think the answer to that question is?
What percentage could it be that the other side, as we've just heard from Dave Rubin, has spent 8 years calling Donald Trump the new Adolf Hitler, a person who was responsible for the murder of 12 million people, including 6 million Jewish people in a Holocaust. Last time I checked, Donald Trump hasn't murdered 12 million people. So much as you would like him to be the new Hitler, he's not. But again, to an impressionable young deranged mind who has easy access to guns, that can be easily interpreted as an existential threat, said President Biden. Somebody that needs to be put in the bullseye, said Biden.
Okay,
only last week. And guess what? Somebody then comes forward and tries to kill the existential threat.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. All right, where do I begin? Let me just finish typing my notes here, the bullseye comment. All right, let's start with this. So their basic positions, Destiny went on his show and basically said, fuck him, to the guy who was killed at the MAGA rally who caught the stray bullet. He basically showed no sympathy, had no empathy for them, and everybody's kind of outraged by that fact. Now, on that point right there, I kind of agree with the people who are criticizing Destiny, right? Because it really is just a matter of basic humanity, basic decency, basic, like, having a universal approach when it comes to morality. It's just the right thing to do, to say, look, I don't care. Even if you have, like, absolutely horrible, atrocious, disgusting opinions, I don't think that's a death sentence. I don't think you should be killed as a result of that. In fact, that seems kind of crazy to me if somebody were to disagree with that. It reminds me of, like on the left, we say everybody should have the right to health care, right? So if somebody shows up and they're in... they got into a motorcycle crash, they're in a biker gang, they're far right, maybe they have some sort of Nazi tattoo on them, right? Should the doctor be able to say, I'm not going to perform life-saving surgery on this person because fuck them, they have horrible far-right political opinions, they're extremists? No, everybody deserves healthcare, period, full stop. I mean, we literally give healthcare to people who are in prison because they're serial killers. Like, that's the way a rational, civilized society acts. And so that logic sort of extends just beyond those few examples, right? So when is it okay to use violence? I always say it's okay to use violence for defensive reasons. If you're defending yourself, then you can use violence. If it's in the context of a war and you've determined your country is acting in a defensive nature, then it's perfectly reasonable and rational and justified to use violence against the other army, right? Civilians, hell no, but the other army, yes. So I think that's where a lot of anger is coming from at Destiny over this. It just seems like a very, very callous perspective to say he had bad opinions, fuck him. And it's kind of wild to hear from Destiny in particular, because I don't think it was that long ago he went on an arc where he was debating and discussing stuff and even interviewing at times Nick Fuentes. And his argument was, look, you got to reach out to everybody and you got to at least try to sort of deconvert these people from an extremist ideology. You have to make an argument. You have to engage in dialogue. If our options are dialogue and try to change minds or just violence, well, then obviously every reasonable person should choose dialogue. And that was sort of his mindset at the time. And he's had this this arc where he reaches out to conservatives and stands by his positions and stands on his principles, but will debate Republicans and explain, here's why I think you're wrong, here's why I'm right. And then the idea is, even if you don't convert the person you're sitting across from, maybe you can convert some of the people in their audience. And so, like, that version of Destiny I like. In fact, when people were giving him shit about, like, debating Nick Fuentes and discussing stuff with Nick Fuentes, and the argument was maybe he's a little too chummy with him, eating chicken and waffles and stuff like that. And I don't agree with that criticism. I thought, look, I understand where he's coming from. I understand what he's trying to do. Even if it doesn't work, it's worth a shot. Not to necessarily deconvert Fuentes, he's too far gone, but to change some of the idiots in his audience from being groypers into being more reasonable. And he has a track record of deconverting people from bad belief systems. I like to think I do too. And so it's worth a shot, right? That version of Destiny I like. I like it when he tries to do that. I like it when it's, hey, I'll take on all comers. I'll defeat you when it comes to ideology and whatever our disagreement is. And then I will try to grow a following that way and change minds that way. And even if it doesn't work, at least I tried. That I like. This seems to me to be the exact opposite perspective. The perspective of, he's got bad opinions, so fuck him so much to the extent that if he gets hit by a stray bullet, so be it. Like, I don't feel any sympathy. I don't feel any empathy. Look, do I feel sympathy for the guy who got killed? Absolutely. Now, am I going to go that next step, though, that I see a lot of other people doing, which is like, since he was killed, now I'm going to, like, withhold from disagreeing even on policy now, or using harsh rhetoric since they're my opponent? No, I'm not going to do that part. Like, Biden suspended all of his ads against Trump after the attempted shooting, which I understand, but also you're doing unilateral disarmament too. It's going beyond that. It's like now Biden's being criticized for using harsh rhetoric against Trump, even if the harsh rhetoric is accurate. So we have to be willing to be nuanced about this. Murder is wrong and bad. Duh, most obvious thing in the world. But also, I'm against Project 2025. I'm against the MAGA agenda. I'm against the extremist ideology. I'm against the crackdown on abortion. I'm against banning no-fault divorce. I'm against banning IVF. I'm against tax cuts for the rich. I'm against tax cuts for the corporations. I'm against the neocon warmongers in the Republican Party. All of those things are true at the same time. So I understand why people are angry at Destiny, disagreeing with Destiny here. Now, Piers Morgan brings up how Biden made the comment, like, we got to put Trump in the bullseye. Look, anybody who's bringing that point up is fucking bullshitting you. The idea that people have never heard of the metaphor before, obviously he's not saying, hey, psycho 20-year-old from Pennsylvania, go murder Donald Trump. That's not what he's saying. He doesn't want anybody to do political violence to Donald Trump. That's obvious. Because he said, oh, we're going to put him in the bullseye, that means, like, hey, stop criticizing me and criticize him for his lies and his terrible policies. Like, that's what that means, and everybody knows that's what that means. So let's stop pretending like there was even a hint of violence or aggression in that. There wasn't. Okay, now let's get to the second part of the conversation, because here's the part where Destiny actually has a point that people aren't really addressing. So his point is, look, all of you guys who are criticizing me, you are the exact same people who were in favor of the attempted coup on January 6th. You laughed about it. You support it. You made conspiracy theories to justify it, right? You were okay with Trump when he said we should find Second Amendment solutions for Hillary Clinton. You were okay with Trump and other Republicans mocking Paul Pelosi when he was viciously assaulted. You were okay with Trump 5.5 seconds ago when he goes on Truth Social and says all of his political enemies, they're communists, they're fascists, they're Nazis. He throws every word in the book at the people that he disagrees with. You were in favor of Trump when he came out in 2015 and 2016 and said on Fox and Friends that not only do we need to kill terrorists, we need to, quote, we have to kill their families of terrorists. That's what he said, quote, we have to kill their families. You were in favor of Trump when he said that. You were in favor of Trump 5.5 seconds ago when he implied that Liz Cheney should be killed on live TV for being a traitor. So Destiny's point is, hold on, motherfuckers. You are the last people who are in a position where you can clutch your pearls and say, oh, civility and decorum and have sympathy and have empathy. You're not in a position where you could say that because none of you have ever had sympathy or empathy, and all you've ever wanted to do is ramp up the disagreement, ramp up the temperature, spew vitriol and hatred on top of things that are just factually wrong. So that's his point. It's like you guys are colossal hypocrites, right? That's his point. Now, having said that, So I think Destiny's right on that about the conservatives. But when I look at the way the conservatives act that I just described for you, I view that as despicable. I view that as disgusting. And so my reaction to that is not going to be like, hey, I'm going to be equally despicable and disgusting just in the other direction. I'm just not going to do that. If I think that's wrong, it's also wrong for me to engage in equal and opposite behavior, right? And then finally, I'll end on this. My understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section, is that there's been some now there's been a bit of a banning spree going on. So I think Destiny was kicked off of or suspended temporarily from Kick, the website Kick, where he streams. I don't know, were there any consequences on YouTube and Twitter? I don't know if there were consequences on YouTube and Twitter, but what I certainly do see is a lot of conservatives, basically calling for the deplatforming of Destiny as a direct result of this. That's what they're saying. Basically, all of when they pretend to love free speech and believe in free speech, and whenever somebody says something horrific on the right, they rush to, well, even if you don't agree with them on the substance, it's still freedom of speech and they should be allowed to say it. Now, all of that is out the fucking window. Now, all of that is ban them, censor them, shout them down, end of conversation, we're done here, right? And on that front, look, you're sort of proving Destiny's point on that one, right? Because you guys say you believe in free speech until somebody on the left or a liberal person says something that you disagree with. Then all of a sudden now you're ban happy, and you couldn't be more open about that fact. So what people are pointing out is, Dave Rubin was actually on one of the panels with Destiny when they were debating this. I think it was the same one. And people are pulling up, Dave Rubin said various members of the squad should kill themselves. He had a picture of some liberal activist women, and he said something like Hamas wouldn't even rape these cows, right? And you can go on and on. There's they say the most vile, disgusting, insane shit. And then at the last second, what do? I'm allowed to say it, and don't you criticize me, but you're not allowed to say it. You need to show empathy and sympathy. And by the way, if you don't, we're going to ban you. So, no. Look, should Destiny have said what he said and taken the position he took? Absolutely not. I could not disagree with him more. I have sympathy for that guy and for the family. But should Destiny be banned for basically saying fuck him to the dead guy and the dead family who happened to be MAGA? Should they ban him? Absolutely not. Why? Because you're allowed to be an asshole. You are. And you're also allowed to take the framework and the perspective that the right has on this and flip it right back on them, right? And ultimately, if nothing else, what this exposes is, other than Destiny's an asshole, which is obvious, it also further exposes how we have nothing but colossal hypocrites on the right who are now screaming for Biden to turn the temperature down, Democrats to turn the temperature down, blaming them for this, blaming them for the violence. When again, let's reiterate, the far right attempted a coup. They defend it to this day and do conspiracy theories and pretend like it actually wasn't a coup. Trump says stuff like Second Amendment solutions for Hillary. They all laughed and mocked Paul Pelosi when he was attacked. Trump calls his opponents communists and fascists and Nazis and everything under the sun. He said we have to kill the families of terrorists. He implied Liz Cheney should be executed for treason on live TV. Jordan Chariton had a whole tweet thread of the times he had called for violence in the past. When an Antifa member was killed, Trump said, yeah, this is retribution. That's good. We like that. So you can't say that's my guy and I'm with him. And then when Destiny applies the same reaction framework, right, just from the left perspective, from a liberal perspective, you can't then say, well, shut up. Now you can't say that and shouldn't say that and you're disgusting and also we should ban you. You can't do that. You just can't do that. So ultimately, my take is don't ban them. Don't ban them. People are allowed to be assholes. But let's be clear, it is an asshole thing to say, right? I don't care if somebody has bad politics. They shouldn't be murdered. It's that simple. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.